We don't want the learning to stop for our kids just because it's summer, and getting kids to keep reading is a great way to keep their brains working. But what to pick? Here with a great new series on North Dakota Today, we have Sarah Nelson joining us with some great recommendations. Thank you so much for coming in.
Thanks for having me.
If the kid is interested and is picking the books, you're probably going to have a better chance of them finishing the book, correct?
Yes, yeah, it's always best if they're the ones to choose and kind of feel invested in the book. Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit too about what do you think about, their assigned books during the school year, but summer reading lists and some different things where mom and dad are encouraging. How important is that in the summertime?
It's very important to keep reading during the summer. They've done studies on the summer slide, and basically if kids don't read during the summer, they will probably lose some of the skills they've gain during the school year and then start the school year behind those kids that have kept reading during the summer. So even just a few books can make a big difference and get kids kind of ready to go.
I love it. So next week, I think we're going to have someone back on talk about adult reading lists, but we are focusing on tweens today. And you have several different categories. Where would you like to start? Because you have some recommendations. Because sometimes for parents, too, it's hard to know where to start. We have great libraries in town, but there are a billion books and you don't know where to start. So where would you like to start for your summer reading list recommendations?
Let's start with graphic novels. They're great for reluctant readers or any readers, really, and fun for
I think we all know
summer.
a reluctant reader. That's a good term.
So we have a couple series over here that are good read-alikes for Raina Telgemeier and books like Smile that she wrote. They're all about middle school, kind of realistic. And this is about Penelope. She's the new student at Berrybrook Middle School, and she's just trying to figure things out, and she gets caught in this big rivalry between the art club and the science club. And there's all sorts of characters to relate to for middle schoolers. This one's kind of the same thing, but the new student was previously homeschooled and traveling the country with her family as part of the Renaissance festivals. So she has all sorts of adjusting to do. That's All's Fair in Middle School and the Awkward series. Another graphic novel, if kids were fans of the Bone series or kind of fantasy and that middle school sense of humor, is Rickety Stitch. And this one is about a skeleton who has a really big personality. He has a sidekick that's a big glob of goo, who is also pretty funny. And they set out on this epic quest to find out about Rickety's life before he became a skeleton. And they meet all sorts of interesting characters. So that's a good one.
Okay, that was a graphic novel?
Yes, this is a graphic novel as well. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Love that. Okay, how about historical fiction?
For historical fiction, we kind of have, there's one called the Dactyl Hill Squad. That's historical fiction. It deals with the very real issues of the Civil War and racism and slavery. But this version of the Civil War has dinosaurs in it. So these orphans are training to kind of fight in the Civil War on dactylback, and there's lots of good combat scenes and sword
It's an
fighting.
Interesting twist. Sometimes
Yes.
I think that kids wouldn't want the history part of it, but my daughter is a 5th grader going into 6th grade. She's talking about the Civil War all the time, no kidding, and wants to go to Boston because of all the history.
Oh,
so
yeah.
it's, that's what they're learning in school, and that's what you're going to kind of get them hooked on here too.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, everyone likes a good mystery book. So you have some children's mystery options?
Yes, yeah, for tweens, a series to consider is the Jacoby series. It's a paranormal mystery series, and it's about Abigail Rook. She wants to be an archaeologist like her father and have all sorts of adventures, but it's 1892 and her parents don't think a proper young lady should do that. So she runs away from England to New England, is trying to figure out what to do, and she meets Jacoby, who's a paranormal investigator who happens to need an assistant, and that's where her adventures start.
Love it. What other segments of the library do we have here? Nonfiction, or was that?
Nonfiction, there's some good biographies. There's a children's or tween version of the Trevor Noah biography that kids could check out. And then we have a realistic fiction book here too that our kids' book club really liked. It's The Vanderbeekers of 141st Street. And the Vanderbeekers, they're a family with 5 kids, 3 pets, and 2 parents living in an apartment in an old brownstone in Harlem. And they love their community, they love their apartment, but then the Biederman, which is their evil landlord, he decides to evict them. And he has his reasons, but they're trying to stop him. And the siblings are all very unique, and you can relate to them, and it's just a good kind of community story.
How about fantasy? Have we covered that?
Fantasy, there's actually a good version of the Black Panther origin story. A lot of, if your kids are into like Marvel superheroes, DC superheroes, there's a lot of good chapter books and graphic novels based off of that. And there's one about the Black Panther when he was 12, kind of before, when he was just the prince and when he first moved to Chicago. So that could be one to try.
Why do I get the feeling you've read all of these books?
I've read a lot of them. So,
And also, you're not just like picking with no, you've actually talked to kids too. You have a kids reading group that you kind of get their opinions and ratings.
Yes, yeah, we have a kids book club that meets during the school year, and that's up to grade 7. So we get some tweens there, and we've read this book in that book club, but it's a fun way to see kind of how they're reacting to things.
I love it. Well, we will post all of your recommendations for summer reading lists for tweens on our website, ndtoday.tv. That'll be posted a little bit later this morning. Thank you so much for coming in, and you know what, just kind of having that option list is great, especially for parents. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
Stay with us. Coming up next, why you should plan a family trip to Bemidji. Maybe read a book on your way there.